everyone, welcome to our Ad Studio webinar on optimizing your Ad Studio account. So all of you have been asked here today, as you've already created your Ad Studio account, but you're yet to create your first ad. So before we start, a few house rules to start with and a little bit of tech information. Don't worry, you're not going to be seen, you're not going to be heard during the session, your audio and video is turned off, but interaction is a must during these sessions. So we want this to be dynamic, so if you have any questions, please use the Q&A window and we'll try and answer as many questions at the end of the webinar. We'll be running a couple of interactive polls throughout the session. So let's start with an easy one. So bear with us whilst we launch the first poll. So I'll just give you a couple of minutes to answer whether you're a Spotify user, starters, and whether you're premium or on the free ad-supported side of the platform. Perfect, so there's a couple more of you to answer. Great, I think all of you have answered. So it looks like the majority of you are on the premium side. So we'll see how that compares to our overall Spotify audience in a bit. So we'll just take that off. Perfect. So yeah, I wanted to introduce myself first. I'm Millie, I'm the Ad Studio International Manager covering the UK and EMEA for our self-serve platform Ad Studio. I've been at Spotify for close to 3 years now. I joined for the launch of Ad Studio in the UK, and I'm really, really happy to see how far we've come and excited to show you all how you can get the most out of the platform today. So with that, all of you have been asked here today, as I've mentioned, you've already created your Ad Studio account, but you're yet to create your first ad. So before we dive right into the platform, we wanted to first go through a few COVID insights, and then who our Spotify audience really is. And then we'll dive into Ad Studio. We'll show you how to build an ad and finally go through some creative best practices. And of course, we'll leave some time at the end for a bit of Q&A. So what we wanted to touch on first of all is really get a bit of understanding of the media landscape over the last 6 months. 2020, as we all know, has been a year like no other. And what we've seen with that is some changes in how people are consuming media content online. We've seen people change their routines. People have increasingly been watching movies, series, funny videos, gaming, searching for cooking recipes. But what remains true is that listening to music and podcasts continues to be really important. So despite all these changes, audio and consuming audio media is extremely important to people in 2020 today. And so time at home has brought with it new routines. On the platform, we've seen this reflected in where people listen. So for example, listening in the car has declined, but listening on gaming consoles and across connected devices is up. But because Spotify is available across 300 plus devices, we're able to remain with listeners through these changes, really proving the essential status of audio whenever and however people choose to listen. And so despite the change in routines and global uncertainty, we have seen that more people are listening around the world. And actually, our monthly active users grew 31% year over year, our third consecutive quarter of year-over-year growth above 30%. And specifically, our ad-supported audience has grown 32% year over year. So in all 4 of our regions, monthly active users grew faster in Q1 this year of 2020 than it did in Q1 last year of 2019. And that's across premium and ad-supported users. So not only does this mean that we have more listeners for you to reach, it also makes crystal clear that in this uncertain time, music and podcasts continue to play a really important role in people's lives. And with audio ads, you have that opportunity to show up in those important moments. And so with the rate of change that we've seen recently, agility and flexibility are key for brands. We understand the need to test the effectiveness of existing campaign setup, the current creative rotation, targeting parameters, etc. And so through Ad Studio, testing becomes much easier as you can set up new campaigns super quickly and implement learnings to existing campaigns even quicker. And Ad Studio also allows for more flexibility. There is a need now more than ever to be able to make real-time changes to campaigns, whether you need to switch out your creative, adjust your spend, change your targeting. Ad Studio allows you to have maximum control over your campaigns and to be able to make adjustments quickly and efficiently. So now let's dive into Spotify's audience. Spotify, as we know, is the world's largest streaming platform, and we've built a really trusted relationship with our audience of fans over the world. So as you can see here, out of the 299 million monthly active users globally, 170 million of those users are on the ad-supported platform, which means that you can connect with them wherever and whenever they are streaming music. And you can reach this audience worldwide, as we're now in 92 countries across the globe, and we're continuously growing. So who's actually streaming in the UK? Well, our streaming intelligence helps us understand who our audience is. We have a logged in audience with one persistent identity across multiple devices. On average, we see that our free listeners are spending 2.5 hours on Spotify across multiple devices. And you'll see here who is streaming in the UK specifically, broken out by platform and by age and gender. You'll see a good chunk of the audience are listening via mobile. However, we have seen, as I mentioned earlier, that connected devices listening is definitely increasing. So yeah, you can see how this is all broken out by age, bracket and gender. So now let's dive into the platform itself. So Ad Studio really prides itself on several key values. Firstly, speed, flexibility, and control, which we've mentioned already a little bit. Our powerful targeting options, the free audio ad creative, which I'll go into more detail during the demo. And finally, real-time reporting. So if we focus first on the speed, flexibility, and control aspect of Ad Studio, the platform really is the quickest way to get your campaign, or multiple campaigns for that matter, up and running on Spotify. You'll be guided through a 3-step ad creation process, which again, I'll show you throughout the demo. That includes selecting your target audience, your budget and schedule, and uploading your creative. And really, you can edit your ad at any point throughout the campaign. We've really designed Ad Studio to be super quick, intuitive, and allows you to build and launch a campaign in a really seamless way. So if we look at the sort of powerful targeting options, have a think about how you're streaming music, how you're streaming podcasts and video each day. Each time you press play, it's for a different reason and a different motivation. And based on what and how our listeners stream, whether it's a mood-based playlist like chill hits, a playlist for activities like a road trip, or a personalized playlist like your Discover Weekly, they all tell us more about our audience. So every skip, search, play, and repeat tells us more about our users. So our streaming intelligence, our really sort of rich first-party data set, is able to understand the person behind the device, revealing people's moods, moments, mindsets, activities, and what they're up to. And we use this to help you connect with your audience in the most relevant moments. So in addition to reaching the right audience based on, the demographics like age, location, gender, Ad Studio offers these advanced targeting capabilities that let you reach audiences based on their podcast, their playlist, their platform streaming behavior, through our different sort of targeting parameters, whether that be our interest segments, our real-time context, genre, or fan base. And again, I'll explain a little bit about each of these during the demo. And so, as I mentioned, Ad Studio gives you the ability to build your own audio creative directly through the platform. So if you don't have any audio assets, don't worry, we'll record the voiceover and add in the music for you at no additional cost. All you have to do is write a script, pick a background track, and voila, a recorded audio ad will be provided free of charge within 24 hours. And we'll go through this too in the demo. So now that you've heard about the key benefits of Ad Studio, we've got a little question for you. We'd like to know which aspect of Ad Studio benefits you the most. So let's see, we'll give you a couple of minutes to answer that. Great, answer coming through. A few more of you to answer. So from what we can see, most people most people have selected that the low minimum budgets are a key aspect that will benefit them the most within Ad Studio, followed by the free audio ad creation, which is again, a great tool that we're providing, and finally the ease of setup and flexibility. So really great answers, and we'll show you just how you can do all of that through our demo. Perfect. So before I jump into that, let's see what the audio experience looks like from a listener perspective. So it's a 30-second audio piece, sound on and non-skippable. And in addition to that audio spot, you'll also have a clickable image, allowing you to extend your campaign and drive traffic to a URL destination. So here's what it looks like to a listener, both on a desktop and a mobile. And I wanted to share with you an example of a user who used our voiceover tool actually to build and launch their campaign in Ad Studio. So let's take a listen.
Blossom Hill Wines have been bringing women together to chat, laugh and celebrate with each other for years. Why not share a bottle of Blossom Hill this weekend with your girls? Available from all leading UK retailers. Cheers!
Perfect. So yeah, the campaign in this instance was Treasury Wine Estates. They chose a female young adult for their voiceover actor, and they added a couple of instructions there. So I'll show you how to sort of set the whole sort of and use our voiceover tool within the platform. This was a really great example of how they use that tool within the platform. So something to keep in mind is that not only is your audience listening, they're actively watching too. And to be precise, 1 out of 5 minutes spent on Spotify free are in the foreground. So because our users are highly engaged, Spotify users are constantly returning to the app to discover new content, toggling between different playlists, using our visual features, such as our lyrics integration or our video content hub. So our fans are really engaged both audibly and visually. And this allows for brands to capture listeners' attention and tell compelling visual stories via a highly viewable video ad format. Which leads me to our video experience. So here's what the video ad looks like to a listener, both on desktop, as you can see here, and on mobile. The video format is a 30-second video, horizontal and vertical, and you can choose either option on Ad Studio. 100% brand on screen, and like our audio format, it's sound on and non-skippable. And it's worth mentioning again that the video is only shown when the app is in focus. So I'll show you in just a moment how and when listeners receive an audio ad versus a video ad. And before we jump into that, I wanted to highlight here that combining audio with video does lead to a higher brand lift. So while standalone formats perform really well, combining video with audio can help reinforce your message. And doing so helps maximize your campaign's impact across key brand metrics. So you might wonder, how do we decide what type of ad to serve? When does a listener hear an audio ad, and when is a listener shown a video ad? So don't worry about figuring out these moments yourself. Spotify's tech automatically serves video when the user is in focus, so looking at the app. And audio ads are served in the screenless moments. So let's check this out.
Every day, millions of people use Spotify to stream the music they love. And we built our platform to put our fans first, so our ads fit right in. But how do we decide what type of ad to serve? And when? And to who? It starts with our streaming intelligence. Because Spotify is an app, we get signals that help us understand the context of our users. We use those signals to know how we deliver a brand's message. Is the app fully in view? Is the user browsing playlists, shuffling songs, or skipping tracks? That means the Spotify app is in the foreground, so we know to serve a video or display ad. But what if the other apps are being used, or the phone screen is locked? The Spotify app is in the background, and audio makes more sense. We are constantly improving this streaming intelligence to optimise how we connect fans to brands.
Perfect. So I hope that gave you a bit of an understanding as to sort of when we show our video ads versus when we show our audio ads. So with that, let's dive right into the demo of the platform. So bear with me for just a second. Great. So as you can see here, this is our Ad Studio landing page. As I mentioned, I believe all of you on the call here do have an account, but it's really worth checking out the entire landing page. And you can see here at the top, some insights as to how our free voiceover tool works, some additional resources in terms of product news, tips and insights, success stories, and specifically for labels, how to promote your music. And then some really great FAQs within our help center, some frequent questions that we constantly get from our into our account management team. So definitely check all of this out. When it comes to booking your ad, all you have to do is click on Manage Ad, which will take you into this 3-step process. So you'll initially be asked, what are you promoting? What's the objective of your campaign? So you could be a label, in which case you would select the first one, your music related, and you'd add in the artist that you're promoting. You could be, a Live Nation or Kilimanjaro, for example, and so you'd select a concert, or you're promoting artist merch. And then finally, the last objective here is non-music related. So your brand, a product, or an organization, and you're promoting your brand to listeners on Spotify. So let's go for the third objective here for today. And so initially here, you're going to be naming your ad. So you can pop that in there and then selecting next. This is where you're going to be selecting all your budget and targeting. So initially you'll be asked which format you want. So in this instance, you've got either audio, video, or horizontal or vertical. So we'll select audio for today. You've also got the option to target specific platforms, whether that's iOS, Android, or desktop. And then you're selecting your schedule and your budget. So you can really run anything from just a couple of days to up to 6 months. So for today, we'll just run a campaign for a couple of weeks, let's say, and then you can select your budget. So the minimum spend, and I know that was one of the key benefits for you all, is £250. So it really gives you an accessible way to access our inventory from a really low price point. And you can select, add in any specific budget in here. So let's go for 1,200, for example. You're then going to be asked to target your audience. So where's your audience located? So you can select a country here. You can go more granular and select specific cities within the UK, or even go even more granular and bulk upload your postal codes. So for today, we'll select the entire of the UK. And then you've got your age targeting, your gender targeting, and then finally here on at the bottom here, you've got your additional targeting, whether that's interest segments, which I mentioned earlier, real-time context, genre, or really keep it to your standard demographic targeting. So if we focus on interest targeting here, these are a bunch of audience segments that we've built based on historical data, looking at people's recent podcast listening behavior, their playlist listening, as well as what platform they're streaming on. So if you were a fitness brand and you wanted to target an audience that is working out, for example, or that tends to listen to fitness related playlists or podcasts, then you can select all of these specific interest segments that you can tap into. So let's go for fitness, maybe health and lifestyle, running, and sports and recreation, for example. And so that's currently showing not much delivery. Oh, there we go, it's back on track. So this on the right-hand side, you'll see here at the top what your CPM is going to look like. So at the moment, we're seeing a £10 CPM, or 0.01 per ad served. And then your budget delivery likelihood here is basically going to tell you whether your budget is likely to deliver depending on the audience that you've selected. So in this instance, we're good to go. And you'll see it'll vary depending on which audience segments you tap into. Below here, so from a planning perspective, when you're building your campaign, this is really useful because you can quickly get, an estimate of how many impressions you're going to get, what your reach might be, and what the lifetime frequency would be throughout the campaign. Let's check out the following additional targeting, which is real-time context. And this is really targeting people in specific moments, indicated by the playlist that they're listening to there and then. So for example, if I wanted to target somebody that's working out there and then, I could select workout. Caveat to that is that you know, because you're targeting people in real time, it is much more of a sort of granular targeting. So you do need to make sure that your budget is well suited to your budget. In this case, again, we've got the green go ahead, and you're good to go. And then finally, genre. Here you're targeting people based on the genre of the song that they've heard immediately before hearing your ad. So again, you can sort of select all sorts of genres here, and really making sure that your budget delivery likelihood is on track, in which case in here you might have to sort of add in a few more or go back to interest targeting. Perfect. So let's go to the next one once that's uploaded. So as you can see, really pretty straightforward. You know, once you've got your audience in mind, you can sort of really you know, build out your target audience in just a couple of minutes. If we go into the next one, so the third step here, this is the creative, where you're going to be adding in all your creative assets, or building your own through the platform. So you've got a couple of options here. How do you want to make your audio creative? You can either use your own. I've just uploaded a couple of assets here in terms of your audio file, adding in your companion image. As I mentioned earlier in the call, your audio spot is accompanied by a static image, which you can see here. And you can view this via mobile as well as desktop. And then you'll be asked to add your call to action. You've got a whole bunch here that you can select from, your click-through URL, your advertiser name, and then a tagline to really give listeners more context about your company or product. So that's if you have your own assets. If you don't have your audio assets, like I said, not to worry. You know, we've got a tool in place to help you build your creative assets totally free of charge. All you have to do is select a background track, so from our library. So you can sort of select all sorts of different tunes that we have. So for example, so you've got sort of all sorts of little tunes that you can pick from. Alternatively, you know, if you're an artist, for example, and you're promoting your own track, but you want the voiceover, it might make more sense to upload your own track file, in which case you can simply upload it here. Then you're going to be adding in a script. So, you know, adding in exactly how it should be read by the voice actor. You can also sort of see some additional samples here, which we'll listen to in a second. And once you've added in all your voiceover script, and we'll go through a few creative best practices after the demo, you're selecting your voiceover actor language. So for example, English England, the voiceover profile, for example, female young adult. And then you can really listen to a few voice actor samples. So let's check these out. Let's go for female.
This is an example of a female, young adult voice actor. You can submit instructions to direct the tone and cadence.
Perfect. So as the voice actor was just saying there, really, you know, submit instructions and add as many instructions as you can, so that you can try and get something that you love in the first take. So, you know, pronouncing words out, or sort of, you know, mentioning what tone and pace you'd like the creative to be, as many instructions. You can also add in sort of references if you have those. So definitely recommend to sort of build up your instructions there as much as you can. And then again, it'll ask you for your image, your button, your sort of call to action button, click-through URL, advertiser name, and tagline. So worth mentioning again that the voiceover creative, it's totally free of charge. The turnaround time, which I haven't mentioned yet, actually is about sort of 24 to 48 hours. Usually for a UK or sort of US speaking sort of voice actor, you can get that into a lot quicker actually. And once you get the voice actor, the voiceover, you'll receive a notification via email saying that your voiceover is ready. You can go onto the platform to check it out. You can log on to Ad Studio, review the voiceover. If you like it, great, you can go ahead and approve it. It will then go through an approval stage on our end, and we'll launch it according to your start date. If you feel that actually your script isn't quite right, you need to sort of tweak it a little bit, or actually the voice actor might have mispronounced something, or they need to sound even more enthusiastic or something, then you can simply sort of add those into your sort of instructions, revise it, and then you'll receive another notification once it's ready. And you can submit a few sort of revisions until you have something that you really love. And again, once you love it, you can approve it. It'll be approved on our end if it meets all of our guidelines, and then it'll be launched according to your start date that you will have added in here. So finally, once you've got all of that, you'll click onto next, for example, and let's just click on use my own here so that I can click next. And again, you're just sort of reviewing exactly what you've added in, complying with our sort of T's and C's, and then placing your order. And like I said, it'll go through an approval stage. We'll make sure that it complies with our creative guidelines and then approve it. So once that's approved and it's launched, you're going to ask, okay, so what are the metrics that you're going to be able to see, and what are you going to be able to do when your campaign is live? So I'm going to take you through a couple of campaigns here and show you, this is just a test campaign that we ran, and these are the metrics that you'll be able to see. So you can see how many ads have been served, so how many impressions have been served, what the reach is, so what the sort of how many sort of unique listeners have heard your ad, what the frequency is of your ad serve, and the completion rate. And you can really see here sort of how the delivery has looked like across your entire ad flight. So I won't go into too much detail about these metrics, but there's a lot of detail in the FAQ section, and you can sort of hover over all of these metrics for more information. You've also got some additional metrics here around the audio performance. So we'll show you how many clicks you got and what the CTR looked like. And then some additional insights on your audience. So who actually heard your ad, broken out by age, gender, genre, and platform. Now, this ad has already been completed. It was finished earlier this year. But what you can do whilst the ad is live is there's a whole bunch of different self-serve functionalities. So you can stop the ad, you can pause it, you can duplicate it if you need to. There's all sorts of things that you can do whilst the campaign is live. You can also click into your ad details, edit your targeting parameters. That will bring you back to the sort of ad setup, and you can simply widen your sort of targeting parameters, narrow it down, or whatever you need to do whilst the campaign is running. You can also sort of swap in some new creatives if you want to sort of keep the creative within your campaign quite fresh. You can sort of swap it in for a new creative. So it really allows you to give to have that flexibility and control over your campaigns through Ad Studio. I wanted to also show you another campaign. This is specifically geared towards labels and artists. So you'll have a slightly different set of metrics. You'll continue to see, how many impressions have been served, what the reach looks like, the frequency, the completion rate. But additional sort of artist results that you'll see here are how many out of those that were exposed to the campaign, how many then went on to listen to the artist, and what was that conversion rate? How many times did they stream the artist catalogue? And then, looking at new listeners. So out of those that went on to listen to the artist, how many hadn't listened to that artist in the previous 30 days or so? So you're sort of re-engaging those lapsed fans. And then also one of the key metrics that we have is the intent rate. So out of those that went on to sort of listen and stream the artist, how many then went on to like a track or add it to a playlist? So you're really sort of focusing on those long-term engagement metrics to build sort of the fan base for the artist. So again, all of these sort of metrics, you can find out more about them in the resources on Ad Studio. And then actually, this was a video campaign. So you'll also be able to see metrics around the video performance, as well as audience insights for specifically divided up by listeners, new listeners, average streams, conversion rate, intent rate, and all of that broken out by age, gender, and platform. So some really, really interesting insights, and we've worked really hard on adding on more metrics for our artists and labels. Perfect. So I've shown you the demo. Hopefully you can see, sort of how easy it is to build a campaign. As you can see, within just a few minutes, you're able to pretty much build and launch your campaign. And it's really a pretty seamless experience. Once you've got the hang of it, you can get something up and running in just a few minutes. So with that, I'm going to go back into the presentation and share with you a few last best practices. So I want to leave you with a few best practices when building your campaigns. So something to keep in mind when you're sort of building your audio ad is really creating a clear call to action. It's really super important. Whether your goal is to drive online sales or to connect with new customers, your audio script is ultimately driving the listener to a specific action. And your audio script should include a clear and simple call to action that aligns with your objective. So for example, verbally mentioning the business when running audio. Seems obvious, but you'd be surprised that 9% of our campaigns don't mention the business name audibly in their audio. So verbally mentioning the business is key to generate stronger results. And we've seen that ads with a direct call to action have 3 times higher click-through rates than those with none. So if clicks are what you're after, it makes sense to include one. At the very least, you can prompt the listener to do something like saying, tap to find out the location, or whatever makes sense for your business and whatever you're promoting. Second one here is knowing your audience. Again, it might seem obvious, but including the different audience segments that you can tap into, whether it's the interest segments that I went into, the real-time context, for example, which will ultimately drive increased awareness and higher intent. And finally, saying it more than once will drive stronger brand lifts. So making sure that your frequency as you're building your campaign falls in that sort of 3 to 5 sweet spot to drive stronger brand lifts. So whilst the campaign is running, consider expanding your targeting if your frequency per user per week starts to rise above that range. And you can see what that estimate is when you're building your campaign. So make sure it tries to fall within that sweet spot. And then, like I said, whilst your campaign is running, you can always go back in, edit your campaign, broaden your targeting, or make it more granular to try and make it fit within that sweet spot. So I hope this creative best practices were useful. Finally, my question is to you, are you ready? Are you ready to be heard? Reach out to our audience. Hope you're sort of ready to sort of build that campaign. And let's launch a quick last poll to find out. So our last poll would be, so how do you see your advertising budget for audio evolving in the next few years? So just waiting for you guys to complete that. So going to wait a couple more seconds whilst a few more of you answer the poll. But it's looking pretty positive. From what I can see, it sounds like most people are going to be seeing a steep increase in their audio. So hashtag power of audio, which is really, really great to see. So I'm going to sort of close that one down. There we go. Perfect. So thank you so much for all your questions and for interacting with our poll. Really, really great engagement. Thank you for sort of answering and sort of partaking in all of those polls. But before we wrap things up, I'm going to answer a few of your questions live. And for those that we don't get to, we'll make sure to answer them offline within the next 48 hours. So again, thank you so much. We'll get into sort of the questions right now and hopefully answer as many as we can. So I'm just going to be checking here which additional questions that we've had. So one of the questions that's popped up was, what is the turnaround time for the voiceover creation? The turnaround time that we suggest is of 24 to 48 hours. What I would say is, if you're going to be revising the audio ad, if you're not too sure about the script, or maybe if the voice actor is the right fit for your campaign, try and allow for a bit more time so that you've got a bit of time to revise it and really get something that you love. But generally speaking, you'll receive the voiceover back in, in under sort of 24 hours, and then from there, it's really up to you as to sort of how many times you revise that audio ad. But like I said, the turnaround time is really pretty quickly. Do you offer exclusion targeting? Really, really great question. We don't currently offer exclusion targeting at the moment. It is something that is on our product roadmap. We've got lots of exciting product features on our product roadmap, and a lot of those are, catered towards the more sort of enterprise clients, and sort of features that you might be seeing on other sort of media platforms. So exclusion targeting is something that we're hopefully going to be adding on, and that might be from a geo perspective, for example, maybe sort of targeting the whole of the UK except for London, or it could be sort of within a specific genre. You might want to exclude specific subgenres. So definitely looking into that, and hopefully that will be on our product roadmap as of sort of Q4 or perhaps next year. And so on some product updates, are there any product updates that we can expect in the near future? Other product updates that we're working on, frequency cap is something that we're hoping to sort of get live quite soon. So I mentioned that sweet spot. Like I said, when you're building your campaign right now, you can see what that estimate sort of frequency would be. But ideally, you know, what sort of a big request that has been from our advertisers has been to set a specific frequency cap. So that's coming, it's in the works, it's on our product roadmap, and we're hoping that will be launched pretty soon. One of the big requests from some of our advertisers, specifically actually from the auto dealerships, has been county targeting. So right now you can sort of target the UK, you can target England, and you can target specific cities, as well as going, like I said, super granular by targeting and uploading bulk postal codes. One of the things that we do want to also add is county targeting. So again, we're working on that, hopefully adding that in sooner rather than later. How many users are in the UK alone? Somebody asked. Great question. As of June 2020, we reached 20.8 million of unique visitors in the UK. And that number is just continuously growing, which is really great to see. Another question here that I can see is, when we create the audio ad using Spotify, do we have all the rights on it? So you do have the rights to be able to use it as many times on Spotify. So if you wanted to use that creative again to submit another campaign within sort of the Spotify realm, so on Ad Studio, you can use that creative again. So that's no problem, and you can use it for as long as you want. So if you wanted to submit that same creative the following year, if it's a seasonal creative, you can do so. That's no problem at all. Will you be able to see a recording on this online afterwards? Yes, we'll share the recording with all attendees post-session. Let's see here. Is there a way to test multiple landing page with the same audio ad, or do we need to create a new campaign and split the budget? Not quite yet. So something that we are working on is sort of campaign sets, where you'll essentially sort of be able to have single sort of targeting and sort of various creatives within that campaign set. For the moment, the workaround is, if you want to do a bit of A/B testing, is creating individual campaigns, and you can upload whether it's different creatives that you want to check or different URLs of landing pages. You would have to submit individual campaigns, and you can then sort of see, you know, what your click-through rate and what your performance is looking like. And like I said, the platform gives you that control and flexibility to be able to pause your campaign, stop it. So if you felt that one of your campaigns was performing better than the other, you can simply, you know, stop the other and upweigh the one that's performing better. Do you allow custom audiences so we can retarget web visitors? Again, that's not something that we allow on the platform right now. It is actually another product feature that's been a sort of frequent request by our advertisers, and something that we are working on. So building some custom audiences is something that we'll hopefully be implementing on the platform within the next few quarters. So definitely sort of look forward to that, and it's something that we're really excited to be adding onto the platform. Would you say these audio ads are ever any good for lead generation or just brand exposure? I think you know, when we're sort of talking to advertisers about sort of building their campaigns on Ad Studio, we're very upfront that Spotify is very much around sort of brand awareness. You know, you're reaching your users in their screenless moments a lot of the time if they're going to be exposed to audio ad. So really sort of focusing on adding Spotify on plan for that brand awareness piece is super important. Further down the line, we'll hopefully get some more metrics that are more sort of performance-led metrics on the platform. And so from a lead generation perspective, that might be more useful. For the moment, you know, we do have some strong click-through rates on Ad Studio, and you can see all the clicks and the click-through rates through the platform. You can also add in UTM sort of tracking codes within your URL to sort of, again, see additional sort of performance metrics linked to your ad. But I think, you know, going back to that brand awareness piece is definitely sort of where you want to be sort of focusing your efforts on. And then finally, I see a quick question here. How do you access Ad Studio, possibly the app? So right now, the best way to access Ad Studio is just going on adstudio.spotify.com, and again, you'll be sort of sent to that landing page. From there, you'll have all sorts of resources, and you can go in and create your campaign, like I said, in just a few minutes. So that would be the best way to to access Ad Studio. One last question here that we have is the approval process really slows things down. Is this likely to get faster for when you need to make changes? Well, our approval process, within sort of 24 hours, once your campaign is launched, it will go through that approval process, and it takes about 24 hours for our customer support team to approve it. So we go into sort of manually every single sort of ad, and we make sure that it complies with our guidelines. And if we don't approve it, we'll reject it and send you a notification as to what you need to change. And you can quickly go into your audio ad, maybe modify your creative or your click-through URL, and make sure that it's all ready to be approved and launched according to our policies and according to our guidelines. So we are constantly sort of improving our workflows and our processes and making sure that from an approval standpoint, we get to your campaigns as quickly as possible. But expect about sort of 24 hours for your campaign to be approved once it's been submitted. Perfect. And then just as a reminder, so will I be able to see a recording of this online afterwards? The answer is yes. We'll share the recording with all attendees post-session. So yeah, I think that's pretty much a wrap. This has been super, super fun. I really enjoyed it too. I hope you did enjoy it as well. Again, if you want to find out more about the platform, feel free to head to adstudio.spotify.com, and we really look forward to seeing your campaigns coming through. So thank you so much for everybody for joining, and thank you for your engagement. We really appreciated all the questions and your engagement in the polls. And yeah, have a great day.